We be live, I think. Yes, we be live.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing? How's Susie? How are you?
I'm
You okay?
good. I'm good today.
You're good.
Yeah.
Let us know in the live chat, please, that if the audio is okay so that we could get started. We're going to be covering the news on atheism, secularism, politics, culture, and some other stuff. However, I wanted to show something to you guys about what's happening in Afghanistan. Just share just a little bit of a video before we get started. AJ is confirming in the live chat that the audio is good. Thank you, AJ.
Thank you.
So bear with me. I just want to show this to you guys because I saw this, and this is a woman from Afghanistan that sent this video, and she said that I felt the need that I need to share this. Okay, so just bear with me. I'll translate it for you guys. Okay.
ما به بی اهمیت هستیم چون که توی ایران افغانستان بودیم میامدیم کسی به ما اهمیت نمیده و ما توی تاریخ هم میمیریم. خیلی خنده دار.
All right, this is just a short message that she sent. It was very short, but I just wanted to highlight it because she's saying this is about, the Taliban taking over Afghanistan, but she's saying that are, it seems like their crime is that they're being born in Afghanistan, and her crime, like, because they're born in Afghanistan, the world doesn't care about them, and they're not just going to die. They're like, it's not just that they're dying physically, that they're going to also die in history because they're such an insignificant part of the world that nobody cares about them. So they will die twice. Like, basically they're also going to die in history. Like, they're not even going to be remembered. So the reason why I wanted to share this is because I wanted to just make sure that like, just all of us try to help with that not happening. Just every one of us, just maybe a little bit. That I just felt like we just need to make sure that, I know there's like very little that we could do. However, and I know, like, just saying, like, making sure that we care just seems like so insignificant, but I don't think it's nothing. The fact, like, I know, like, us just caring for them just seems like, well, that's not helpful because what is your care going to do? But I still think that just because it's not going to help, that means we should just not just forget them. Like, I honestly, like, I do feel like it's helpless, like that there's, that we can't do anything, like, as much as we care. But I still, just because we can't do anything, that doesn't mean we should just forget them, because it seems like at least she cares, right? That we don't forget them, right? So even if you think like, well, us caring is not going to do anything, well, she seems like that she does care about us caring, even if we can't do anything. So at least, I mean, if nobody else cares, at least for her sake, I want us to care, right? There's that. I also want to share with you this other part. This was another Afghan girl who was singing about, how helpless the situation is, but I'm not going to play that part. The part that I want to play is this part. Okay, so this is a mother who claims something. I don't know how accurate this claim is. So I don't know if it's going to be echo when I share the screen. So maybe, like, yeah, thank you. I'm gonna guys, let us know in the live chat if there's any echo when I play this, okay? Because that happens when I share the screen sometimes. So this is a claim by the mother. Okay, before I play it, I just want you to know that we can't verify any of this. I'm just going to play what she's saying, and I'm going to translate it for you. but I don't have any verification method. So if any of this is not true, just take everything with some degree of skepticism. But this is what she's saying, okay?
پسرش را که نامزد داشت کشتند زیرا از خواهرانش دفاع کرده بود. آنها پس از کشتن برادر خواهرها را بیهوش کرده در تابوت گذاشته با خود بردند.
در جرم بسیار بیرحمانه بچه ما کشتن. دخترام هم میخواستن که از داخل خونه برای بچه هم دختر از دستش گرفت بگم 30 مرمی بچه نامزد دار مزده. دخترام دوا میزنه قیپ اختر نمیفهمم 4-5 تا تاوت در دستشان دخترها را دوا میزنن در داخل تاوت میندازن.
So she had a son and a couple of daughters, and the Taliban, when they took over like her city or whatever, they came to take her daughters, and her son, their brother, tried to stop them, and they killed her son because he was trying to stop them from taking his sisters. And they made, I don't know how, but they made the other girls, and then they took the other girls, right? After they killed her son because he was trying to stop the Taliban from taking the daughters. That's what she's saying. So they took her daughters and they killed her son because her son was protesting against the Taliban. So just wanted to share that's happening right now as we speak in Afghanistan. I just wanted to, before we cover the news, I know this is not the news that we cover because that news is already being covered everywhere else. I just wanted to maybe highlight a few things that maybe other places might not be highlighting. Anyways, that was that. So anything, Susie, you want to add or highlight anything in the live chat? No?
I mean, there's nothing more I can say. It's really upsetting.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know.
Don't
Anyways.
apologize. This is why we're here, right? But
yeah.
What can you add?
No, nothing. Yeah. All right. Okay, guys. So let's go to the first news. Read. So I don't know how to say to transition. I'm just going to bring you the next news. All right. First news.
First news. We can clap for this one. Do you want to clap?
First
news. Facebook launches I Prayed button and other new prayer services. In 2017, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg stated that the company would focus on religion and religious communities for a quote-unquote faith partnership. In December 2020, Facebook started rolling out its I Prayed button tool for Facebook groups in the United States. In June 2021, Hillsong, a global megachurch organization, opened its new church in Atlanta, Georgia. Before the church's opening, Sam Collier, Hillsong's senior pastor, received an offer from Facebook where they would be allowed to use Hillsong's followers in a case study on how Facebook can better help churches. Facebook's plan is not just to offer a prayer tool, but to become an online quote-unquote home to these religious communities. With the coming of the big global disease, Nona Jones, the head of faith partnerships with Facebook, said that they've ramped up the work on the prayer products, which include the I Prayed button.
What?
Yes.
Wait, so how does this work? Is this just a button or there's a group or like what is this and why?
So they are pilot testing a new feature that is only available to groups, not just someone's wall. So only available to groups in the United States who they seem to offer this maybe on a one-on-one basis. I'm not sure exactly how certain groups get this tool, but a global megachurch organization like Hillsong was offered this tool from Facebook itself. I think I found this like pretty funny because I interpreted or perceived this as Facebook trying to get in on the stop, share if you love Jesus Christ, like content cycle, you know, like it's so, I find it to be kind of cynical personally. It's very obvious to a lot of people, including many faith leaders who were interviewed regarding this new topic, this new tool, that it is just for monetary reasons because they get a lot of traffic off of these things. It's a business decision, basically, because of the big global disease. So many religious communities had to move online to streaming their services online. And this is kind of another way to make Facebook, like they said, a home for these religious communities. It just seems, and to many other religious people who were asked about this, they said it, well, there was this one pastor from Tennessee who like called Facebook evil, but was like, maybe some good can still come out of this. Because they find that it's impossible for you to still have the same relationship, you know, with your fellowship remotely. Because you don't get the holy goosebumps in the same way when someone clicks "I prayed for you" versus being in a prayer circle. It's just very interesting, and I just interpret it as just a business decision, a marketing decision.
I actually support this.
I'm gonna hypothesize why.
Why?
Is it because it demonstrates how vacuous just like thoughts and prayers are?
Wow, that was one of my 3 points. Great guess. Great job. How do you know? How did you know? You didn't know me too well. Yeah, actually, that's like a great, you know, how ridiculous this is. Like, it's just, I mean, the fact that you press a button and then you show that you prayed, it's just like a very powerful way to demean and also indicate how much of a nothing this whole "I prayed for you" is. Like, it just demonstrates it's kind of like this could be satire, but it's actually real news. The fact that some religious activity is so ridiculous that this could have been satire, but it's actually real news. It just helps us push forward the idea of like, look, this is just religious activities, just demonstrating how ridiculous they are. It's just like kind of doing our activism for us, right? That's one reason why I support it. Also, I mean, you can't be angry at Facebook. I mean, this is a demand out there. They're in the business of providing services for the demand that is there, so they're going to provide the services that they think people want, right? So I mean, you can't be, but that's not one of my reasons. That's just like people want to be angry at Facebook for this. I just don't see that for any reason for us being angry at Facebook, right? And another reason why I support this is because, you know, in certain countries and in certain communities, you see you go look in the comment section. You're trying to see what people are saying, and it's about something, I don't know, it's about some people, it's about a disease or something bad happening or something good happening, and then the entire comment section has been taken over by amens, or like let Jesus heal the land, or like I believe and it's just like, it's such a goddamn mess, and you're just scrolling and
In
scrolling.
Jeebus's name.
No, it's just like can I see what they're like? Can I see some interesting comments? I'm just trying to see like some pushback or some commentary, and you just scroll and scroll and scroll, and you just see prayer emoji. It's just like, okay, this is like, I'm not getting anything out of this, right? So if there is eventually like a button, like, I know this is only for groups, but if this is rolled out to other countries and everywhere, where everybody could just like press that prayer button, so I could just leave the comment section alone. So just like press that prayer button, so actually I could like make the comment section more productive. Maybe that's a good thing, right? And the third reason why I think that this might be a good thing is because I actually believe that at some point anti-atheist discrimination is going to get some attention. And eventually we're going to be able to like highlight the fact that, okay, so you did this for religious people, that this doesn't seem like a platform for non-religious people. Like, then like pushing for, making it apparent, like having things to point to for like, well, you're making religious people seem welcome. What have you done to make these places also welcome for non-religious people? Then we could use these as a counterpoint to actually ask for meaningful things, right? So they get their prayer button, but we could actually, like, what do we get? We could actually push for, like, can you not ban people? Like, it would be for like criticizing, religion. Like, I think like maybe eventually this will give us a whole bunch of things to point out to show, like, okay, fine, give them the prayer button, but make these environments also friendly to non-religious people, and then we could ask for actually meaningful things that makes our lives better on these platforms, right? Eventually, I don't know, maybe that it will lead to that. So those are the reasons why I actually support this. What do you think?
And I totally understand. To be fair, I'm not sure what an atheist or secular equivalent to a service like this would be, or like,
Yep.
what would be
Not service.
Huh?
Just like not ban us. Don't ban us for like saying we don't like Islam, right? Not like we could push for like some sort of kind of some sort of like request, but instead of asking for like a feature like this, we would just be like, maybe like make this change the
treat
community
us the
standard.
same.
Yeah. Don't ban us if we say like, if we make fun of Islam or Christianity or something. Oh, Christianity, we don't get banned. But if we make fun of Hinduism or Islam or something like that, like, just let us have our opinions.
We have some funny comments in the live chat. Retarded Skeptic is saying, wow, now my prayers can actually reach them. God couldn't hear the prayers until this update. And he's also saying, we need an Astaghfirullah button for all the haram on Facebook.
No, like, if you are actually one of the religious people that sees this as a positive, do you actually, like, how does that work theologically? Like, do you really think, like, I don't know, Jesus is like looking at the people who are praying, clicking on the prayer button, and he's like, yay, I like this? Like, is that actually, like, does that actually work within your philosophical understanding of your religion? Does that, like, I mean, it's just so hard to, do people even think about these things?
About trying to create a virtual sense of fellowship, because I know the fellowship is one of the most important aspects to religious people, especially Christians. But I mean, that's just the environment I grew up in, and that I'm most familiar with how Christian fellowships work. So I think they're trying to kind of create a replacement of that. But a lot of religious leaders also had various concerns about the data that Facebook is accruing through these things, and like, how would it be exploited, if it's going to be safe for religious minorities, for example, which and
I don't know, a lot of these people are also thinking that, like, these people in charge are like godless heathens that are maybe like anti-God people, and maybe this is a way for them to collect to see who's for God, because those are their enemies, right?
Well, they think a lot worse about Zuckerberg in particular that I can't say on YouTube. So they might actually be thinking, okay, so never mind. We're not even going to talk about it. The more you're liked, the more you're blessed. If you don't like me enough on Facebook, you'll rot in hell. Yeah, on that note, you guys should like this stream.
Yeah, okay. By the way, guys, like, I don't promise you any divine blessings or anything like that, but it helps us. Isn't that enough? It helps our channel. So and yeah.
I thought it was interesting that Facebook also decided to reach out to Hillsong specifically, because Hillsong is going through multiple sex scandals right now, some including abuse. And there are accusations that it is a full-on cult.
So why would they pick that as the first people who get the prayer thing?
Well, they weren't the first, but they recently reached out to them to help them with their new community, building their new community in Atlanta. But yes, Armin, that is an excellent question.
Is it because that they have a giant group or something? Is Is that it? Like maybe
Yeah,
it's
they're
the
one of the
size of the.
like they're a huge
There
global
you go.
congregation.
There you go. Nothing. Well, it's just business. That's what it is. Anyway. All right. Okay. So can we clap for the next news?
I don't think we should.
Okay. Next news then.
Next news. Famed Christian creationist Kent Hovind arrested for domestic assault. On July 30th, Kent Hovind, a supporter of creationism, was arrested for allegedly, okay, when we're covering this news, I want you guys to keep that allegedly in your mind, for allegedly throwing his reportedly estranged wife to the ground. On the same day as the arrest warrant was issued, his wife requested the court grant a protective order against Hovind and one of his associates. She cited an incident earlier this year where a gun was pointed at her by one of Hovind's associates in October 2020. For those who are not familiar, Hovind has been a vocal advocate for the theory of young earth creationism. The theory stems from a literalist, word-for-word interpretation of the book of Genesis in the Bible. Hovind believes that man coexisted and has thrived alongside dinosaurs. Hovind's arrest in late July is not the first time this controversial preacher faced legal problems. In 2006, Hovind was sentenced to a 10-year jail term for tax fraud.
Yeah, just guys, I hope like people are not celebrate. Like I know we have some toxic people in our community, in the atheist community, who just like look at the news like this and they think like, oh, this is great news. This guy, like, especially by people who've been following these debates, and they like it when Christians like, I mean, if the allegations are true, I'm glad that this guy is getting arrested, so that you could be glad about that. But don't be happy that a news like this happened. Like, you have to be careful. I mean, I'm not saying something that doesn't happen. Like you can see whenever we post news like this on our Facebook page, you can see some people celebrating it. Like you're celebrating somebody being assaulted. So like, just check yourself before like making like you have to wonder if you're one of the baddies. If you see like just because somebody who was like ideologically on the opposite side of you, and you want to like demonstrate like, oh look, people who are Christian, who are like heroes in the Christian world, they're like immoral, and you're like, yeah, this is a point for us. Look, Christians doing horrible things. This is good for our PR. This is good for our marketing. To show like you're celebrating the fact that somebody was assaulted. So like, don't right. So just maybe and also be careful with your skepticism. A lot of people just want to jump on the fact that like this is alleged. I mean, usually when there's something like this happens, I'm not gonna we always have to be prepared to take it back if it's proven that this didn't happen. But just make sure that you use the words "if this is true," use the words "alleged" responsibly when you're talking about things that you don't know exactly how it happened. Don't lose your skepticism just because it benefits marketing against somebody who's a very famous creationist or something like that. What do you think, Sus?
Yeah, that's partially why I wanted to cover this news. I mean, a charitable take would be that people are celebrating because he was arrested for allegedly doing such a thing. So they could be celebrating like, oh, look, hopefully our justice system will do the right thing. Like that's the most charitable interpretation. I don't know. I think one reason why I wanted to cover this news is because it's obviously, it's just important to show that very famous religious figures are not these morally perfect creatures. And I think we should highlight that, especially when they have such strong condemnation and bigotry towards atheists, like Kent Hovind does in particular. So I actually watched a little bit of a recent stream that he did after he presumably got out on bail from this arrest. And he was just calling it mudslinging, and like he didn't seem to be taking it seriously at all. And he then went on to continue with his segment that he literally calls Whack an Atheist Wednesday, where it's him like beating these little figures that represent like atheists who believe in evolution over the head with hammers. Right? So like this is, I also wanted to take the opportunity to highlight that about this individual. Like he spreads a lot of BS. Young Earth creationism doesn't make any sense. He thinks that the world is only 6,000 years old. And he's also just a fraudster. I mean, his criminal history is, you can find it publicly available. One of the reasons why he ended up with the tax situation like over 10 years ago was because he said that everything he owns belongs to God. So therefore he doesn't have to pay taxes on it, basically.
Okay.
And I'm like,
sure. I'm sure that will work with the tax agents.
Only religious people can get away with this bullshit. I mean, he didn't get away with it, but like,
Yeah.
who would think
Not
to
even
say
religious.
something this stupid? Like,
Yes.
No,
I mean, okay, so yeah, I mean, I agree that I think it's fair to okay, so first of all, you can celebrate somebody getting justice if the allegations are true. Okay, that is fine. Like, but don't celebrate the entirety of the news that, oh yeah, this is a great opportunity, because the entirety of the news would involve an assault. Don't, you know, but if the allegations are true, this man getting justice, that part is worth this. The justice part is worth celebrating. If
well,
true.
It'd be his
also
wife getting justice.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, justice happening, obviously, to the victim. Obviously, justice would be for the victim. And then, yeah, what was I saying? So, and also, it's also when it comes to highlighting, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be highlighting this. Obviously, this man is like in the world religion news. This guy is one of the most famous advocates of creationism. I mean, and if this is on the news, how could that not be relevant to like the religion news segments that we're doing? Obviously, it's relevant. But I'm not talking about whether or not we should cover it. I'm talking about the takeaway from it. And I also think it's fair to point, you know, a fair takeaway from it is that, you know, being a Christian, especially very Christian, does not guarantee, you know, having high moral standards, right? Like that is a fair takeaway. But you know, some people take it too far. Some people will say like, oh, it's a guarantee that you will, like, some people like think like, obviously if you're a religious person, you're going to have bad morals. Like that's not a guarantee. Our takeaway is that it just doesn't prove that you are, you know, because a lot of these religious people make it seem like, you know, religion gives you morality, and we should like, well, doesn't seem like it, right? We don't
look at you. No, I'm kidding.
No, I mean, we don't claim, I don't want to. I want to just be careful with our claim. We're not saying that religion, being very religious, makes it guarantees that you're not moral. We're just saying that it doesn't guarantee that you are moral, right? So it's just, and cases like this demonstrates that, right? So I just want to be careful with how we phrase it, right? It doesn't guarantee either way. It doesn't guarantee that you're more moral or less moral. We have examples for both. And if you want to be more scientific about it, and have larger sample size, it doesn't seem to have much of an effect at all over larger sample sizes in randomized studies and stuff like that, right? So, yeah. So, and again, you shouldn't use anecdotes anyways to come up with conclusions like that. You could, unless you're making claims about guarantees. So like if you want to show that something doesn't guarantee something, anecdotes are fine. But if you're making claims over averages, effects of over large populations, then you're going to need statistics and randomized studies and scientifically collected data. So just be careful what conclusions you make from just single stories, right?
Yeah. I also just wanted to say that do not direct any like hate or harassment towards anyone involved with this. Keep in mind that these are allegations and that this is an ongoing case. And I would also like to plug, if you guys are not familiar with Kent Hovind, I would encourage you guys to go check out videos that Drew, aka Genetically Modified Skeptic, made on his channel about Kent Hovind. Because Genetically Modified Skeptic has done a lot of good videos on him, including a video where he talks about Kent Hovind coming after him personally and what his experience of that was like, because when Drew was like an evangelical, like kind of fundamentalist, I'm not sure if he would call himself that, but he actually used to follow Kent Hovind, and he was a fan of his, like, you know, kind of in his past life. And then now as an atheist, he criticizes him, criticizes creationism, and now what it's like that this person who he looked up to when he was younger is now coming after him on Whack an Atheist Wednesday. So I would just like to give him his work, especially for those who aren't familiar with the nonsense that is Kent Hovind.
Susanna has eyes everywhere. I don't understand how you do this, but okay, that's great information. I did not know that. All right. I can see that we cannot clap for the next news.
No.
Okay. Next news. Wait, did you want to add anything before we go to the next news?
No, just letting you guys know that this is a really tough, bad news if anyone needs to brace themselves for that.
Yep. All right. Next news.
Okay, next news. 9-year-old. Sorry, let me start again. Next news. 9-year-old Dalit girl gang raped, murdered, and forcibly cremated in New Delhi, India. On August 1st, a 9-year-old girl from the Dalit community, for those who are not aware, that is India's lowest caste, to the point that they are outside of the caste system, formerly known as untouchables, was murdered after being allegedly gang raped. Her body was forcibly cremated by the same men who committed the crime. The girl's family lived in a rented shanty across from a crematorium. On the day of the gruesome event, around 5:30 p.m., her mother asked her to fetch drinking water in a cooler inside the crematorium's compound. After an hour, when she didn't return, her mother went out to look for her. The crematorium's priest told the mom that her girl was dead. The priest reportedly said that the girl died of electrocution. The mom knew that the priest was lying. She immediately declared that she wanted to bring her daughter's body to the police. The priest and his associates proceeded with the cremation despite the mother's protest. Injit Pratap Singh, deputy commissioner of the Southwest Delhi Police, said they had arrested 4 people in connection with the murder, including the 55-year-old priest Radhi Shyam and his 3 associates. The Delhi police are still conducting investigations.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah. So, before we dig into this, I want to give some clarification. So I've heard some slightly differing details. So there are some reports that say that she was missing for an hour before her mom went looking for her. And then there are some reports that say that she was missing for a half an hour before the priest called the mom to say that she died by electrocution. And then when the mom went to go look at the body of her daughter, it was covered in bruises and, more details that I don't really want to get into, but things that, according to this mom in this brief look that she got at her daughter's body, it didn't seem consistent with electrocution. And it was only after a crowd of over 150 people stormed the crematorium that they were actually able to get what was left of the girl's body, which was just her legs. So the police can't even do any testing regarding the allegations of RAPE. And this is like reignited back into the Indian national consciousness and international awareness. The incident of the Hathras gang RAPE that happened last year that was just horrific, and that the police were basically involved in a preemptive cremation that prevented like accurate autopsies of a lower caste woman. And then of course the 2012 Delhi bus incident, which I mean the details of are still absolutely shocking to me. Now, so I was looking for updates. There are massive protests that are happening. Well, I don't know how massive they are, but there are protests that are happening to demand justice for this young girl whose name has not been identified. And it's bringing back it's forcing a lot of people to think about just casteism in India, because there are a lot of allegations or rumors from what I've read online that the priest involved was a Brahmin, which is the highest caste. And it just, I don't know, there's really not too much to say besides it's horrific. And I feel like the only thing that can be taken away from this is talking about it, to raise awareness about how serious the conditions are for women, sexual violence against women in general across India, but specifically for Dalit women. I was actually, well, Armin, you can continue. I want to try to find a stat that I was looking at earlier.
Is the allegation that the priest also was involved in abusing the girl, or just a cover-up?
That it's, yeah, like all of the above. Those are the allegations.
Okay, so I'm gonna Risa is saying this isn't the first time thugs RAPE'd. Guys, the reason why we're not reading that out loud is because YouTube is like sensitive to certain words that we use here, and killed Dalit girls. So this is let me read it again. This isn't the first time thugs RAPE'd and killed Dalit girls, women, and cremated them with parents of those victims locked inside. Is this a new pattern in India? I don't know if this is the new pattern or this is just some patterns that existed that we're now just hearing more of. And also Hira is saying the priest and the culprits forced to cremate the victim's body, saying some religious bogus like there will be shame and family will never have peace with God. Oh, so when the mom wanted to stop them from cremating her daughter, they were like, no, this is like, it would be shame if we don't cremate it now. So this is like, go on.
I saw reports that the mom was saying that the priest and these three men told her not to call the police because then the authorities would assist on an autopsy and then steal her organs and sell them. Wow. So like, that's, and then at some point they locked her outside of the crematorium until this, huge crowd of 150 villagers pushed through. And by then it was basically too late. So there have been a lot of protests happening in response to this, including protesters burning effigies of Modi because he hasn't condemned the crime. And I want to find this stat.
I do want to acknowledge, though, that the police, like, Susie, correct me if I'm wrong here. It seems like the police is doing its job properly here right now. No?
It seems like it. I don't think anyone has been charged yet, but there have been arrests.
I mean, because a lot of people think like we are like anti everything that happens in India. So I just want us to make sure that like we acknowledge like so far it seems like the police is doing the proper arrest, and also the fact that there is an outcry against this, right? Like we want to highlight the Indians who are coming out and protesting this and demanding justice. We want to highlight them as well. So like if you look at this and you're like, oh my God, like I mean things are really bad in India, but also let's highlight the people who are trying to like, it's not like there's something like this is accepted, and like it's not like the Indians are like, oh yeah, this is just like another Tuesday. Like there is a proper strong reaction to this, and the police is like, I'm not trying to dismiss how this is a horror story, by the way. Like just this is like a freaking nightmare. Like, I don't know. I honestly like feel so bad for the mom. Like, I just can't imagine. Like, imagine just like sending your daughter out to go get something, and next thing you know, she's missing, and you go to find her, and she's dead. She's just like, oh yeah, your daughter died. She was electric, like, and they're like, she was electrocuted. And you look at her body, and you like, obvious, like, she was not. You know that something is happening here, and then you want to like call the police, and they're like in a rush to cremate her body, and you're trying to save her body because you know that something happened to her, and you want to make sure that, and they cremate her, and then when the people show up to save her so that they can investigate, only her legs are remaining. Like, what is this? Is like the worst nightmare. Like, I can't imagine. Like, imagine, like, how many shocks does a mother have to go through? First, she's dead. Second of all, you look at her body and you're like, okay, they abused her. Third, they're trying to, get away from justice and hide the evidence. Fourth, you have to go collect her legs that are the only thing remaining from her burning body. Like, how do you even survive mentally after this? Like, I would be like, I'm done. I'm done for life. Like, this is like, I don't know how she could, like, I would not be able to survive life after that. Suze.
I mean, and this is the couple's only child. Like, it's just, there are also allegations or that the priest tried to pay off the mom and say, like, don't go to the police. We'll just settle it here. Like, you can't fight this case. Just really, just every detail about this is horrific. And I finally found what I was looking for. I wanted to highlight some statistics so that people get an idea of how severe things are. India's National Human Rights Commission points out that a crime is committed against a Dalit every 18 minutes. And on average, 3 Dalit women are RAPED'd and 2 murdered every day. Data shows that 11% of reported RAPE cases in India in 2019 is the latest year that we have consistent data from, pertained to victims from the Dalit community. There was another statistic that shocked me.
Did you say how many murdered every day?
2.
2 Dalit women are murdered every day in India?
Sexually assaulted and murdered every day.
Every day?
On
are
average.
You sure about? Are you sure?
Based on calculations from the last available year, it pans out to, on average, 2 a day.
Oh, all right.
There was something else. There are more than 32,000 RAPESs recorded in India in 2019, according to the latest government data, which is almost 4 an hour. Although experts say that the actual figures are likely significantly higher due to the stigma attached to sexual offenses. There are more than 100,000 kidnappings of women over the same period, data show, a third of them with the aim of forcing the woman into marriage.
By the way, I just also want to highlight again one more time that we're like, this whole news is about a 9-year-old girl. I just want to also highlight the fact that this was a 9-year-old girl that this all happened to. How many people were involved?
4 people have been arrested.
So, if these 4 people were involved with the abuse, like, can you just imagine what potentially this girl had gone through before she died? Like, 4 grown men. Like, imagine the last moments of this girl's life, this 9-year-old's life. Yeah, this is insane.
And it blows my mind that it blows my mind that people want to legitimately deny that casteism doesn't affect any aspects of, like, social strata in India. It doesn't make any sense to me. I think in America, like we're kind of having or attempting to have national conversation about the legacy of like 400 years of slavery on this continent, right? And what it means for our country to tackle these generations of people whose ancestors and then them, the people that came before them being discriminated against, subjected to abject slavery, et cetera. And how does that lead to what we see today? In India, it's thousands of years of communal discrimination, violence, prohibition from social and economic mobility, education, and so for those who are not familiar with what the Dalit community faces in India, I just want you to kind of think about that for a sense of comparison. What if you're from an American context like me, how did those 400 years and the, following hundreds of years of discrimination impact how, the African descendants of slaves experience American society now? Well, multiply that or just make it exponentially, worse. Thinking about it that way really gave me a lot of perspective on things.
Yeah, another thing to give people perspective is that the data that you mentioned, that like two Dalit girls, on average are, raped and murdered in India every day. That is the reported ones, right? Because from all the, and also there's a lot more happening other than Dalits in India. But when it comes to the Dalits, they are possibly the most underreported ones, because the Dalits are like the lowest. I mean, they're not even the lowest caste; they're outcast in Hinduism's caste system, and so they're seen as the lowest, as the low. So much so, that it's easier to silence them. It's harder for them to get their voices heard. It's easier for people to intimidate them. And I can't just imagine how many other 9-year-olds or children have gone through this that has never made it to the news. If this was a more successful cremation, or if this was something that the mother was also managed to be intimidated and silenced, which probably is true for a lot of other Dalits, this, we wouldn't even hear about this. And again, if this is happening twice every day, how many of them, this is happening constantly, and we're just highlighting only one of them right now. And this is hard. This is like hell. This is like a living hell. God damn it, man. The lives that Dalit people go through is just one of the greatest. This is why also, by the way, Hinduism is one of the most harmful religions in the world. Anybody who denies this, because this whole caste system is built within the structure of Hinduism and has been responsible for so much misery and so much harm to so many people. It's both a foundation of Hinduism, and it has affected more people in much longer period of time. We're talking about the religion, it's one of the oldest religions in the world, and we're talking about a religion that influences a billion people. More than 1 billion people's lives are being influenced by this religion. So when it comes to level of harm, it's really hard to compete. Few religions get to compete in harm right now. I mean, actually, Islam and Christianity managed to compete, but don't dismiss how dangerous and how harmful this religion is. So a lot of people don't dismiss Hinduism as just oh yeah, I guess Hinduism is also harmful. Guys, people's lives have been devastated and being, and no small amount. This is a curse upon India. Hinduism is a curse upon India.
Millennia upon millennia of just communal violence and hatred and discrimination. It's so tough. And I know that it's very diverse across India. The way the Dalits are treated is very different depending on different states and regions and such and such. And of course, not all higher caste people, would do such a thing or treat people in such a way. But we have to still talk about these things because too many people would deny that this is a reality for millions of people.
Right. And also, like, if there's any update on this news or anything changed about this, these allegations, we'll update the article or something like that. But I hope she gets justice. Like, again, I don't want to completely, like, I know I see some people in the live chat are like completely dismissing India because of news like this. Like, guys, India, when we highlight a news like this, please don't use it as a way to completely, paint all of India with the same brush. Okay, this is the India that is also filled with the people who are protesting against this. Okay, India is also filled with people who are trying to make it better, with women's rights activists, gay rights activists, secular rights activists, atheist activists, human rights activists, political activists against the far right in India and all that.
Incredibly brave journalists. I have so much respect for Indian journalists. It's not even funny.
Right. Also, India is also the India of Dalits. So people who like looking at this and like, oh, screw all of India because of how they treat the Dalits. Well, the Dalits are part of India. Like, if you want to completely dismiss all of India, you're also being like dismissing the lives of the Dalits that you're acting like you care about. Like, how could you like completely dismiss all of India where like, oh yeah, India is treating the Dalits really bad, so screw all of India. Well, what about them, right? So like, do not do that. I have a lot of hope for India, right? I with all of this, I think India's short-term future looks pretty bleak, but long-term, I have a lot of hope for India's long-term future. I'm very optimistic, given the attitudes and the way of thinking of the newer generation compared to older generation. I think India will eventually move in the right direction. So please, please, please do not dismiss India. I am optimistic about India's future, long-term future. Okay, I know a lot of people don't believe that, but given how what we have done with our activism about Hinduism and India, but I am very hopeful about India's future, long-term, not short-term, long-term future. Let me actually delete this before.
I would just like to clarify that I have a lot of respect for some Indian journalists. There's a lot putting really bad, false information or bigoted information out there. I respect the ones that are being targeted by the Indian government with the Pegasus software for trying to expose their authoritarianism and stuff like that. So, should we go to the next news?
Yeah. Anything you want to highlight? Anything in the highlight? Yeah, guys, I see your comments, interesting comments. Thank you for the feedback and your information. But in the live chat, all right, let's go to the. Can we clap for the? Is it getting better? Can we clap for the next news?
I mean, in comparison to that, like anything's better, but I don't think we should clap.
Okay, next news.
Next news, Turkish influencer charged with obscenity for pictures of the sex museum. Merve Taskin, a Turkish Instagram influencer, is expected to appear in court for publishing photos that were considered to be quote-unquote obscene. These pictures were taken at the famed sex museum in Amsterdam during a trip to the Netherlands. A few months later, after getting home to Turkey, she was arrested for the criminal acts of posting obscene content. The Turkish government did not see the joke nor found her posts funny. Anyone operating as a Turkish entity or citizen who is sharing indecent and obscene content, especially those intended for a Turkish audience, is subject to Article 226 of Turkey's Penal Code. Article 226 penalizes anyone who, quote, broadcasts or publishes obscene written or audiovisual material. Kaskin deleted the images from her social media, but still received an SMS message instructing her to appear in court on October 26th, 2021, where she will be formally charged with violating Article 226.
Wow.
So this is despite Turkey's economic issues right now, these are some of their priorities. So this girl went to this like fun little sex museum. She was visiting the Netherlands to celebrate her 22nd birthday. And in Amsterdam, there's the sex museum, and she posted a photo. I mean, obviously I can't find it because I don't think it's out there anymore, but it was like of like penis shaped pasta and like a sexy bottle opener. And like, these just sound like kind of little gag, like souvenirs, just like silly gifts. And it was just kind of posted like, oh, look, isn't this kind of funny?
Yeah.
And
it's also, I think, the history. But I was in Amsterdam. I was like deciding to go to the sex museum or not. And I looked at the pictures that people posted. I was like, man, because like, I don't know. They had like exhibits of like sex toys and stuff like that. I think. Like old ones, like true history. I don't know what exactly was there.
Yeah, they call it like the history of sex.
Yeah. I mean, it's educational, I guess, for somebody who wants to go and see how this developed in history, like probably like the first vibrators and stuff like that. The first, tools that people use for different purposes. It's interesting, and I think it's completely like. It could be used as, it could be completely seen as educational. I don't know. But so you haven't seen the nature of the pictures that she shared? Like nobody was able to, like, you don't know what, because I don't think like she posted anything that was, because she posted it on social media, right?
She posted it on Instagram.
All right. So if she posted it on Instagram, that means that it didn't violate Instagram's community guidelines, right? Because I can tell you, Instagram is very sensitive. Like we posted some of our art. We have posted some of our art on Instagram, and they had like no nudity, and Instagram like, get that crap out of here. Like, so Instagram, we don't post our art on Instagram anymore because Instagram is very sensitive about like, they're like, this doesn't even have nudity. They're like, this is like too sexy for Instagram. We're like, okay, because Instagram has been like on a hunt against sex workers, which is sad that Instagram is anti-sex worker now. So because Instagram has been actively against sex workers, they become very sensitive recently about what you get to post on Instagram. So if she posted this on Instagram, that means like she probably just posted some pictures of some equipment or some tools that people through user history, because if there was any nudity, Instagram would have taken it out before Turkey would have ever discovered this, right? I mean, I'm just guessing. I don't know. So that's how uptight Turkey's, like, if you're worse than Instagram, then if you're worse than like, that means there was no nudity. It couldn't have been, there couldn't be any nudity. So this court is finding a criminal, like what they call obscene is stuff that doesn't even involve nudity. So yeah, amazing. So-called secular Turkey. You can't even post pictures of historical, educational stuff in a museum.
Or just like pasta shaped like a penis. Like that's not even. It's sexual organ. Like they look down and they're like, oh snap! It's on me. I'm obscene now.
Wait, so like, how does this work? Like, if you're in a biology class, and do they show like when you get to sexual organs in Turkey, do they show you the pictures or no? Because in Iran we see the pictures, right? Like in Iran, which is like a theocracy, in our biology class we actually see pictures of sex organs. Well, I mean, at least when I was there, I don't know if they changed that. So is that how uptight Turkey is? Are they worse than, like, do they have pictures of that in their biology class? Because if they can't handle this, like, would the biology teacher get in trouble if they, I don't know. Anyways, I actually wish now that when I was in Amsterdam, I went there, because I would have been like, posting them now. I like my pictures there. I was like, apparently this is a crime in Turkey. I would have been, damn it, I should have went now. By the way, what a major ad this is for that sex museum. Like, if anybody goes to Amsterdam and they, if they haven't, because I went to Amsterdam, I was like looking at the things that I could check out in Amsterdam, and I decided to pass the sex museum, and now I regret it. So now next time somebody goes to Amsterdam, I'm like, I better go see what's a crime in Turkey.
Yeah, it's like she just saw like these little funny objects in the museum and like posted a photo with them, and this potentially carries a 3-year jail sentence.
What? I thought
Yeah.
she's gonna get a fine or something. Jail sentence. I missed that part.
Risa is reminding me, I was going to bring this up, that she posted this out while she was outside of Turkey. She wasn't even in the country when this was posted. They, I can't really, wait, let me refresh my mind. Was she actually formally arrested or just called into court? Basically, like, this legal situation has been evolving, and there's like one thing that happened and she thought it was cleared up, and then that's when this new notice was given to her that she has to now appear in court, where she will likely face the charges. But yeah, it has a possible 3-year jail sentence. It just, I don't know. I think it's important to highlight, like, Fatima is saying, damn, they're taking my jail literally. I'm so mad. I'm trying to be so serious. God damn it, Fatima. So it'll be interesting to see how the prosecution handles like her doing this while she was outside of the country and that contention. But it's important to highlight like how Islamized Turkey is becoming their priorities, and how they obviously have a concerted interest in taking authoritarian action against the younger generation, which research shows are less religious and more like a bit more kind of, I would characterize it as a little bit more resentful towards all the religiosity that is being pushed down their throat through Erdogan's, what's the name? Is it the TKP party? Yeah. Risa, oh, should I read that comment? Risa is saying Turkey under Erdogan is effed up. The economy's in the toilet. Yep. Wildfires have ravaged southern Turkey. People are struggling to find jobs and basic necessities, and we have this. Yeah. Oh, but one thing that is kind of nice is that the director and leaders of the sex museum have like fully come out in support of her, and they've made statements. They're like, this is wrong. Like, she shouldn't be penalized for this. Like, we support her and women to express sexuality or just talk about it, and they are fully backing her.
I hope she gets to use this as an asylum case and gets away out of Turkey. Is that possible? She should like use like,
I don't know.
In fact, if she's successful, I hope that the sex museum becomes the #1 destination for asylum seekers. Just go from, if you're in Turkey, just go to Amsterdam, go to the sex museum and take pictures and post it on Facebook. I'm in danger now. I'm in danger. Give me asylum. All right.
Okay, if too many people do that, I don't think it'll work, but
I know. No, but like, I do hope that she, like, let's hope that nothing happens to her. But if anything does, like, she should do they make, like, is there like a flight? Do they ban her from exiting if she has a court date? Because I hope like she managed to get out of Turkey and then file for asylum somewhere.
I'm not familiar enough with those details.
Yeah. Anyways, yes. Also, Risa is saying
AKP. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's the party. But you want to read this?
Risa is saying Zoomers, aka Generation Z, in Turkey seem to be Erdogan's Achilles heel. Maybe in 2023 or 2028, his party AKP will be out of power. Here's
guy,
hoping. I will drink to that.
yes, I do. This is why I'm so hopeful about the future. The Zoomers will save us. The Zoomers will save us from all this conservative nonsense. Hopefully, unless they grow up and become conservative, I am very unless they change their mind. I just think like if you look at the Zoomer attitude, the whole world is about to change. You know, in 1 or 2 generations. Like I'm optimistic about Tunisia, Egypt. I'm optimistic about Turkey. I'm not optimistic about the future of Israel. You know, it seems like, I get the attitudes changing there. Optimistic. Yeah. So if people's opinions have any way in politics, then I was going to say I'm optimistic about Iran, but then I realized that, the Zoomers are very liberal, but I don't know how much that's going to matter when it comes to changing the politics in Iran. So, but at least in Turkey and India, it has some influence. So maybe things will improve. Anyways, all right. Oh, not Bangladesh. No, Bangladesh also. Younger people in Bangladesh seem to be like more liberal than their elders. Anyways, can we clap for the... No, we can't clap for the next season.
No.
Next news.
Mubarak Bala, imprisoned Nigerian atheist, faces new charges. So this is an update on the case of Mubarak Bala. On August 3rd, the High Court of Kano State in Nigeria formally charged Mubarak Bala, an atheist and the president of the Humanist Association of Nigeria, for causing public disturbance. The High Court's charges, which come as a highly delayed action, revolve around Bala's Facebook posts, which spanned over 2020. As the president of the Humanist Association of Nigeria, Bala intended to use his public social media account to express his sentiments against religion. On August 25th, 2020, Bala declared on Facebook that the Prophet Muhammad is a violent radical extremist. Can't say the T word because of YouTube. He was arrested 3 days later and was not seen again by his family. Bala was imprisoned without any charges for almost 2 years. Several international organizations who have been keeping a close eye on Bala's whereabouts and well-being have reported multiple violations against his rights, including the court's denial to give Bala an expedient and fair trial. So yes, hashtag free Mubarak Bala. So just a quick recap. Back in April 2020, he made a post on Facebook where I can't remember it verbatim, but basically he was making a comparison of a local religious leader being very extreme. And my remembrance of it is that he was saying like, oh, it's no wonder that this guy is so extreme and violent. Like, look who his prophet is. Like, they share T-word sentiments, kind of. And so he was subsequently arrested 3 days later for blasphemy, essentially. I don't think that was his formal charge, but that was the impetus behind his arrest. Well, actually, no, it wasn't their formal charge because he was living in the southern state of Abuja, and he was then taken from Abuja, which is more Christian and doesn't have the same influence of Sharia law in that state as the northern state of Kano. And he was taken to Kano State. And this was hugely distressing to everyone who was following his case because in Kano State, they implement Sharia law where Bala is an ex-Muslim, and under Sharia law, he would be subject to potentially the death penalty for blasphemy. Since then, the rest of his case has just been like violation after violation of his rights. I believe in Nigeria, it's the law that you have to be charged within 48 hours of being arrested. So this is over 465 days later. Now he has 10 new charges for the first time. What else did I want to say? So
how-
there was a lot of he wasn't
2
even
years?
allowed to see legal counsel for 5 months. Like, people didn't even know if he was alive or the status of his health because he has hypertension for like 5 months. And there was even a let me refresh my memory real quick. There was a federal notice. Has been detained without charge for more than a year in contravention of a federal high court ruling. So this went to the federal level where there were judges who were like, you can't do this. Like, this is illegal. And it just, his illegal detainment without charge just still continued despite this high court ruling. And at the time the charges were filed, Bala's legal team were petitioning the federal high court in Abuja, seeking the transferal of Bala's case to a neutral territory where he may have the possibility of fair trial. So obviously, like I said, in Kano State, where they have Sharia law, where he was transferred to, everyone involved had severe concerns about not only his safety in complete police custody, the potential laws that he would be subjected to, because Nigeria's religious secular laws is just confusing and contradictory. And also because the quote unquote crime didn't even occur in Kano State. Like, he made the statement on Facebook. This, again, let's remember that this is all over a Facebook post down in the southern state of Abuja. And there is one kind of good news from this. Okay, so the charges that he faces were for public disturbance, okay, under sections 210 and 411 of the Penal Code of Kano State. And the silver lining is that now there actually are charges that his defense can move forward in, taking up and appealing, and they can actually move forward in the legal process instead of just being stuck in this limbo of completely illegal detainment. And he has been charged under customary law. So this is really good because, well, it's relatively good because that means that he customary law is applicable across the Federation of Nigeria, as opposed to the Sharia law, which can be forced on Muslims. So under the customary law, blasphemy is classified as a misdemeanor, punishable by 2 years in prison, whereas under Sharia law, the penalty is death. So the fact that he was charged under customary law is hopeful in the sense that should he be sentenced, found guilty and sentenced, he wouldn't be facing the death penalty. So that's kind of a good thing. But organizations that are working on his case, like Humanist International, still are expressing grave concerns over his ability to even receive a fair trial in Kano State.
Wait, so how many laws do we have in Nigeria? Like, we have Sharia law, we have customary law. So we know like half of Nigeria is Christian, half of it is like Islamic, right? North and south, right? Then we have like the Islamic part has like Sharia law. Is the customary law the one that is not Sharia, or do we have like other laws as well? Like, how does that work?
To be honest, I've tried to study this before and I got way too confused to give you a correct answer. But I do know that in the states where they do have Sharia law, like, it is only applicable to Muslims. So organizations like Humanist International are arguing that he's a humanist. Sharia law cannot be imposed on him. But so might be people who are proponents of that who say, well, he's an ex-Muslim. He grew up Muslim. Therefore, he's still within our jurisdiction, so to speak. That's my speculation. Yeah,
this is so amazing because the understanding is that the Sharia law applies to Muslims, but they're like, I'm an ex-Muslim, I'm not Muslim. Like, no, you don't get to leave. You are like, our laws are like hooked into you. But here's another thing. So he got lucky. So he's like getting charged not with Sharia law, but with like non-Sharia law in Nigeria. But that means that non-Sharia law in Nigeria still sees this as criminal. Like, so we have Sharia law, that sees this as criminal, which is potentially have the death sentence. But the one law that is also not Sharia, they're like, oh yeah, we're not Sharia, but this is still a crime. You don't get to have an opinion about Muhammad like this. You get charged. Like, this is what you could expect from the non-Sharia law in Nigeria. Like, what the? And guys, this is over a Facebook. This is just someone. This man has been in prison right now for 2 years over a Facebook post, just merely expressing his opinion. Just expressing his opinion. And not within the jurisdiction of these laws anyways, when he did that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like this is, guys, Nigeria is like one of the biggest, like this is the 7th most populated country in the world. Like this is I want people to understand Nigeria, I think it's the most populated country in Africa. It's the number one, is it?
Check.
Yeah, but it is like, and soon to become, like Nigeria is growing really fast compared to the other countries. Like right now, I think when it comes to population is 7. Eventually, it's going to become like, based on estimations, it's going to be like 4 or 5.
It is
like,
Nigeria, the most populous country in Africa.
The most populous country in Africa is Nigeria, and it's one of the biggest in the world. Soon to go from 7 to 5 to 4, right? 5 or 4, right? So people should take Nigeria very seriously. Like we're talking about laws that are influencing a lot of people, like a lot of people. And this is a country that us secular and atheist activists have to care about a lot, especially because it's one of the only countries where you have 2 religions to deal with. Not like this is going to be a major battleground for us secular and atheist activists, because this is a country that there's a clash of 2 different religions. It's not like other countries where you're either dealing with Hinduism mostly or Christianity mostly or Islam mostly. This is like, yeah, so like, I don't know, it's going to, I do want us to, I mean, this is why Mubarak Bala was so important also, because this is a country that very much needed secular activism, and this guy was on the front lines of protecting people's rights. And this guy was not just like, look at what D said here in the live chat. Like this guy was so awesome. He was such a, I mean, it's such a shame for a country to like, to arrest this guy. Like this is a treasure. You should like any country that doesn't celebrate having somebody like Mubarak Bala, like what a shame. This is your national treasure, and instead of like celebrating him, oh yeah, this comment.
D was saying we were Facebook friends. He was also helping people in trouble trying to leave their respective countries. He's such a sweetheart. Yeah, so for those who aren't familiar with his story, like he kind of came to international attention. I believe it was 2014 when he was forcibly imprisoned in a like psych ward, a mental institution by his family when he left Islam, because they just thought he was completely insane for doing so. It was actually like a prerequisite of leaving Islam is that you had to be insane. Like, I think that was their attitude. And it took the efforts of international atheist organizations to help get him out of that institution where he was like forcibly kept for like, I think 2 weeks. And then since that event happened, that got a lot of attention. That's kind of my understanding is that's kind of what really inspired him to take on his activism in the way that he does and become a leader, a humanist and atheist leader in Nigeria. So if you guys want to learn more about his case, I would encourage you guys to go watch a video that Armin and I did shortly after he was first arrested in 2020. If you just look on this channel for like Mubarak Bala, Leo Igwe, where we interview Leo Igwe, who is one of the most inspirational atheist activists who I've ever talked to, who does a lot of interesting work that we'll touch on later. Talk about the situation, share it with other people, because a lot of people don't understand how high the stakes are for people across the world, that something as simple as a Facebook post could, just destroy your life in this way. When he was arrested and illegally transferred, he had like a 6-week-old child, who he still hasn't been able to see. His wife, didn't even know if he was alive for months, like half a year.
Wait, he hasn't been able to see after 2 years, hasn't been able to see his child yet?
I don't think so.
Oh my God.
He wasn't even present in court when he was formally charged with public disturbance. And I would also like to highlight that I think these charges are bogus. The public disturbance was caused by these random lawyers who filed the petition against him. And I read the petition that these lawyers submitted to the police, and their reasoning in this petition is that this guy needs to be arrested because his speech will cause Muslims to be violent. It's victim blaming. And also,
wow.
in their effort to like protect their profit, they're actually revealing how little they think of Muslims, because they're like, we have to go after the person who said these things because Muslims will be violent against him. That was like, if you can find it on Twitter, that's where I read it. Like, I was like, wow, okay. And I also just want to read a quick statement that Andrew Cobson, the president of Humanist International, made when talking about these new charges. It has taken the Kano state authorities more than a year to bring formal charges against Mubarak Bala. Their failure to do so until now highlights still further these charges' lack of basis. We reiterate our consistent calls. If Mubarak is to be tried, it must be in a place with the jurisdiction to do so and where he can expect a fair trial. Humanist International believes that Mubarak Bala is being targeted for the peaceful exercise of his rights to freedom of expression and religion or belief, and calls for him to be transferred to a neutral territory in order to ensure his right to a fair trial. So I just want to reiterate that everything about this situation is, well, I mean, I'm no lawyer, but I believe it's illegal and baseless.
Yeah, it's amazing. We actually hear that a lot when people come and blame, like when we like blaspheme, or when we like saying something that other people are offended by, and then you see other people getting angry and reacting, and sending threats and becoming disturbed and maybe like make life very difficult for other people. They come and say like, oh, it's your fault because you desecrated the Quran, or you made this cartoon, or you said this word, and now they're reacting in a violent or threatening way, and they're like, well, you didn't have to do that. Like, what? Yeah. It's very sad because we actually kind of see that attitude a little bit from our own community as well, when it comes to fighting, when it comes to saying things against Islam or doing things that are Muslims find offensive, because we actually see that attitude coming from like people like our own people, our favorite people like Hamad Mehta or like Seth Andrews now seem like to be in favor of that kind of like, oh yeah, when you're like blaspheming against Christianity, they're like, yeah, this is like normalizing things. But all of a sudden, when you do the same thing, when we do the same thing, or other people do the same thing about Islam, they call you like a provocateur, or they're saying like, oh, I don't think this is the way, this is not going to get the right reaction. It's kind of like that victim blaming mentality when it comes to Islam, but not when it comes to Christianity, which is such a bizarre way of looking at this. So like, oh no, this is not the right way. Okay, sure, buddy. Just like given to the crowd, just accept the intimidation tactics, like in cower way. Like, well, while other people are actually trying to normalize actual dissent.
To be fair, I think Seth Andrews' criticism was more about our approach being subject to the law of diminishing returns. So I don't think he has the same flavor of hypocrisy that Hemet did when it came to your desecration of the Quran versus the Satanic Temple's actions, because that's where we had a whole stream about that contention. Right?
Yeah, I mean, Seth criticized me personally as well. That's that's based on other things. I actually have to go back to look at what he said to me before. I have to remind myself.
Because there's other
Anyways.
stuff that he said that was highlighting how ridiculous the treatment we've received from the Indian government is.
That was
blasphemy,
after. So maybe he walked it back. But basically, these people but a lot of these people find us untouchable right now. They don't want to have to do anything. Like after we went after Hinduism, after we've desecrated the Quran, they're like, they don't want to do anything with us anymore. They don't want to associate with us. And just like, this is so unfair because Islam, like we can see cases like this, that Islam is something that requires more normalization, requires more, desensitizing of communities like this, because other people, especially for people like us who don't pay the price, right? Like people like Mubarak Bala are paying the price, so we don't pay the price. Like we do these things with no risk to us and no severe consequences to us. So if we can do something to normalize, blaspheming or desecrating the Quran or saying things that other people find offensive, just so that to create an environment where saying these things are just so common that people can't afford to just be constantly butthurt over all of them, that just creates a safer place, a safer environment online for the people who are at the front lines, for people who actually do have to pay the price, right? I see it like as not just something that I see it as a necessity for us to, do these things, right? Anyways.
I think personally, I find it to be spitting in the face of everyone who's sitting in jail or on death row for blasphemy to not participate in this. If you guys are interested in kind of a little bit of my thesis on why engaging in blasphemy is a legitimate form of activism, I'd encourage you to watch my speech that I did at CFI. So if you search on this channel for Blasphemous Art Project, like Center for Inquiry speech, you can find me like really dissecting and expanding on those thoughts. One atheist activist who I still really admire for like his other work, called it the bottom of the barrel, lowest form of activism.
What? Wait, what? Can you elaborate? What did they call the bottom of the barrel?
Our blasphemy against Hinduism.
Okay, who was this? Who said this?
I don't know if I want to say right now.
Okay, wow. All right. Well, just do the coward's way of activism. Just say, you go ahead and just say the things that people, don't have any say the easy things. Say the things that people just clap for like seals and don't have much resistance to. Just take the easy way out, and the rest of us will go forward with saying the things that gets a backlash, because those are the things that are often deserves to be said. Need to be said. All right, and you just take the coward ways out, and we'll keep normalizing dissent. Thank you very much. Anyways, oh yeah, B is saying that was a brilliant speech. Yeah, guys, go check that out. Like Susanna made such a perfect case for why we do our blasphemy, for why we're doing our dissent. So, guys, it was really well. Like, what should people search for when they go? What's your case for our blasphemy?
I think if they search Blasphemous Art Project, speech, Center for Inquiry Canada, or CFIC, they should find it.
Okay, just search
also,
for Susanna.
I think if you go to my Instagram, which is linked in the description, it's still the link that's in my bio, if I remember correctly. So that's maybe the easiest.
Let me actually just search for Susanna CFI.
Oh, okay. I can find the exact title. The Blasphemous Art Project Speech at Center for Inquiry Canada 2021.
Okay, but I want to make it easy for people to give them just 3 words to search for.
Okay.
Yeah, just search for Susanna CFI blasphemy. The first video that shows up is that
really?
Susanna CFI. Yeah, Susanna
Oops.
CFI.
This event is.
Sorry.
There, that's okay. All right. Okay, let's go to Let's go to the next news. Anything we want to highlight? No.
No, we can move on.
All right. Do we clap for this one? No.
This case is full of a roller coaster. It's a roller coaster of a story. So
I'm gonna clap for the response.
Yes.
Okay. Next news.
Muslim mob attacks Hindu temple. Pakistan deploys military in response. On August 4th, a Muslim mob swarmed a Hindu temple in Bahang City in the Rahim Yar Khan district in the Punjab region in Pakistan. According to Asif Raza, a police officer in Bahang City, the mob was riled up by the court's decision to grant bail to an 8-year-old Hindu child. This decision sparked outrage in the Muslim community. The Muslims claimed that the boy committed blasphemy, a crime punishable by death in Pakistan. This boy is alleged to have been caught, allegedly intentionally urinating on a carpet within the local madrasa, which is an Islamic religious school. The boy was arrested on blasphemy charges, the youngest to ever be charged with the offense. In response to the boy's bailout, a Muslim mob attacked a Hindu temple, destroying statues and taking down the temple's main door. The mob also attempted to barricade the road leading to the temple. The situation was de-escalated when Pakistani soldiers were called in to help control the crowd. When the police and military were able to stop the attack, the temple was already significantly damaged. So, I want to unpack this because there's like 50 pieces.
Before you unpack this, I think the title should have been 8-year-old boy was arrested for blasphemy. This is the title right here. Guys, in Pakistan, so now the military is involved apparently, okay? But this whole thing started because of an 8-year-old, again, an 8-year-old was arrested for blasphemy in Pakistan. Like, what the hell? What is happening in Pakistan? Every time we think Pakistan cannot outdo itself in this whole ridiculousness when it comes to blasphemy charges, Pakistan is like, hold my beer. Well, non-alcoholic beer, whatever. But this is the first time, isn't it? 8-year-old. This is the first time. An 8-year-old has been charged for blasphemy.
A new record was set.
A new low for Pakistan. Guys, imagine how bad things are in Pakistan for blasphemy charges, and then Pakistan managed to go worse than that. Guys, and again, this little boy was charged for blasphemy for something that wasn't even intentionally blasphemous. Like, this kid, it's a Hindu kid. He probably doesn't even understand what the hell blasphemy is. What did he do? He just went pee-pee in the mosque?
Allegedly.
He
peed, it supposedly intentionally in a madrasa, specifically in a room where there were holy books. Now, I would speculate, and again, this is speculation, that this was, if he even did pee in the madrasa, I'm going to assume that this was not intentional. It's an 8-year-old boy. Like, accidents happen. Sometimes you pee yourself. Like, that seems like the most logical, simple explanation for what probably occurred. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm too charitable, or maybe I'm too rational and reasonable. I don't know.
Okay, but then before you unpack this again, I just want to tell you that the next step was that the mob is attacking Hindu temples because they're holding Hindu adults responsible, and they want to collect the Hindus in Pakistan. They want to punish them collectively for the actions of this 8-year-old boy. Like, do you think like this 8-year-old boy was sent on a mission by the entire Hindu community as like, was this like a trained spy? And like, you know, you go there, you find the holy text and you pee on it. Like, this is like, oh my, I don't understand. Okay, you talk. I don't. This is such level of absurdity. I've been doing this for 15 years, Susanna, and I still get shocked. I still hear stories, and I'm like, no way, no way. This is real life. After 15 years of doing this, I'm still like, what? But go on, Sus.
I mean, this is definitely like an only in Pakistan type of story, and I don't know if there's a more PC way to say that. So this incident allegedly happened with this 8-year-old boy, and he was arrested and charged with blasphemy. I would like to remind everyone that blasphemy is punishable by death in Pakistan, and this is the youngest person to ever be charged with blasphemy. So he was bailed out of jail, and because he was bailed out of jail, that prompted this mob to go attack the nearest temple. There was, I believe they set the doors of the temple on fire. And it was only de-escalated when the military was deployed. By the time the combined police and military presence stopped the attack, there was already significant damage. And there was a Hindu community leader who commented that the damage to the temple would have been a lot less if the police were like more willing to control the situation sooner. I believe I read reports that there are some police officers who, actually, let me find this news source, who are being held accountable for not taking action sooner. So the only small positive is that, you know, the military did intervene. The temple has been repaired by the government. The government paid for this repairs. It was handed back to the Hindu community in a ceremony last week. Dozens of people have been arrested for the vandalizing of the temple, and the authorities have told them that they're going to have to pay for the repairs. I would like to note that there's a good thing about this story, and it's an update. So an update as of 2 days ago is that the police have dropped the blasphemy charges against this kid. So that is good news. There was international outrage and just like what? Like everyone was like, what are you telling me? This is insane. And I think that prompted a lot of this action and why his charges were removed. And there was a lot of condemnation from the quote, the charges against the boy were baseless, said Tahrir Mahmoud Ashrafi, the special representative of the Prime Minister on religious harmony. Ashrafi said the police officers who had charged the boy had been arrested. So now they are arresting the police officers who are charging this child.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
and then he says, quote, so much. Minorities are equal citizens, and these are illiterate people attacking worship places, he said. Quote, our Islam does not allow attacking of another religion's place of worship. I would question that assertion. Yeah. And the boy and his family are still in hiding and under protective police custody for fear of reprisals. So obviously, maybe not obviously if people are not aware, mob violence against alleged blasphemers in Pakistan is like the most severe in the world based on the empirical data that I've seen. You are often safer on death row in Pakistan if you're accused of blasphemy than you are safer just out in the public. It's a little bit of a sick irony. And there were some reports saying that Hindus that lived in this town where this happened started to flee the area because of the communal violence that was being like, oh yeah, quote, the neighboring community felt the Muslims mob attack on the temple. According to Lal Malhi, a Hindu and member of Pakistan's parliament, many Hindus feared for their lives and vacated the town. So it's important to highlight that this aspect of communal collectivist violence is very severe in Pakistan. If you're just a member of a religious minority, you can easily feel violent reprisals because you happen to belong to the same group as someone who is accused of blasphemy. And many of these blasphemy accusations are very clearly attempts to persecute religious minorities, discriminate against them, and a convenient way to take out personal problems on people. And it's an extremely dangerous affair to get involved in. It can have deadly consequences extremely quickly for people.
Yeah, I just want to point to the fact that how bad your country must be if we have to celebrate the fact that, wow, the government actually did its job. We're like, oh yeah, like right now we were like, okay, good. The people who did the crime, they were arrested. People were like, oh my God, this is great. Actually, the people who did the crime got arrested. Like, this is how low our expectations are when it comes to Pakistan, where things that are supposed to happen, when they happen, they're like, oh my God, what is, actually Pakistan. But let's also be fair though, because a lot of people, when they see bad things happening in a country like Pakistan or India, they can't, everyone's thinking is so black and, not everyone. I actually did black and white right now by saying everyone. So many people's thinking is so black and white that they assume all or nothing, that they can't assume anything right happening in a country because so many horrible things happen in the country. But no, like, in Pakistan, the problem from the mob is bigger than the problem from the government. Like, unlike like a country like Iran, where the problem from the government is bigger than the problem from the people, in Pakistan, it's the mob that you need to be worried about more than the government. Like you can see here in the government. I mean, I'm not praising Pakistan's government, okay, especially now where we see with the Taliban, which was funded by Pakistan's government and military. So I'm not like celebrating Pakistan's government, but when it comes to blasphemy charges and when it comes to actually protecting minorities, the culprit here is not the Pakistani government, is these mobs. Like you can see actually the Pakistani government coming and arresting the people, including the police that need to be arrested, and actually rebuilding the Hindu temple. So again, I'm not celebrating Pakistan's government, but when it comes to this specific issue, it's not the Pakistani government, as it's these mobs that are the problem, right? I mean, again, the Pakistani government is still some problem. The fact that they have blasphemy laws on their book, that is still an issue. The fact that people do get charged for death sentences in Pakistan, even though the Pakistani government doesn't carry out those death sentences, that's the fact that those laws still are there and people stay in jail for years before they go free. That's still a problem. I mean, you could also argue that those exist because the government is intimidated by its Islamists mob as well. So you could also say like, well, that's also because of the Islamists. That will get into a different discussion. I also want to address the fact that Susanna did mention that when, I don't know, who was it that said that we don't learn this in Islam to attack other people's temples and stuff like that?
It was the special representative of the Prime Minister on religious harmony.
Yeah, I mean, we all know that's BS. That's a fundamental part of Islam, and Mortal Skeptic like nailed it. But which part of Islam that actually like it's not just like some side orders. Like this is specifically Abraham's and Muhammad both we have it that they smashed other people's idols. Like when Muhammad took over Mecca, he specifically went to the Kaaba and destroyed all the other idols. And that's hadith. But Abraham smashing other people's idols, that's actually in the Quran, right? So you don't even need to refer to hadith for this to be Islamic. Like you can't clean that part from Islam because that's actually Abraham destroying idols. It's within the Quran. Like it doesn't get more foundational than this, And you're talking Abraham, like you're talking about the father figure of, yeah. So anybody who denies that is just doesn't understand Islam. Anyways,
You just muted yourself.
I'm just saying, I'm bringing the next news. Is there anything in the live chat that you want to highlight? You're good.
Murtad Skeptic is saying the bar isn't even on the ground. We need to dig down to get to it. Yeah,
Right.
it's real rough right now. Although, interestingly enough, today, August 14th, is Pakistan's Independence Day. So, I don't know. Like, I was actually looking for Pakistan Day celebrations in my area. I couldn't find any of them. Tomorrow is India's Independence Day. Obviously, we have a lot of criticism for both of these countries and how they treat their religious or secular minorities specifically. But, I just want to take a moment to say, like, shouts out to our friends and audience and supporters in India and Pakistan. And I hope one day that I celebrate your country in the intention of hoping that one day you can enjoy the same freedoms and protections that I have. So.
Oh, that's nice. Okay. Can we clap for the next news?
Yeah, in comparison to everything else, yeah, we can clap.
Next news.
Next news. Daycare accused of discriminating against kids with Muslim-sounding names. In November 2020, Hamza Yusuf, the first Muslim Scottish Secretary of Health, and his wife, Nadia El-Nakla, applied to a nursery for their 2-year-old daughter, Amal. Their application was immediately denied. They received a similar rejection after they attempted a second time. The couple asked their friends to send applications to test if the organization was declining children with Muslim-sounding names. Surprisingly, it became evident that the nursery was doing precisely that, as their friends' applications with Scottish-sounding names were accepted. Their friends had also submitted applications with Muslim-sounding names, and those were rejected. Usha Faldar, a spokeswoman for the Little Scholars, the nursery in question, stated that they refute the allegations made by the health secretary in the strongest possible terms. So I thought this was interesting because there were like 2 separate sting operations that went on. Like sometimes the U.S. state will like have sting operations to see if people are participating in housing discrimination. And instead, this couple, Hamza and his wife, they decided to do their own sting operation to see if they were discriminating. And then after they did their first sting operation, then they asked like a newspaper to do it. And the newspaper also did a sting operation where they did applications with like quote unquote Muslim sounding names and then like white or Scottish sounding names. And the ones with Muslim sounding names were told that, oh, the schedules for these daycares are full. We can't take anyone right now. But if it was a Scottish sounding name, then they would ask them, what is your availability like? What schedule? Like they told Hamza and his wife twice that they were too full to take in their child. And because the rejection of their application was so quick, they were kind of like, let's try this again. And then that's how they started to put 2 and 2 together and put in like little fake applications to see how their response would be different. And it was different. But yeah, Armin, what do you have to say?
Okay. I don't know the details, okay? But this sounds like it was done so right. Look at this, this is not your average bigotry and racism allegation, right? These people were not like, oh, I just feel, this seems like people are being bigoted to me, so I'm just going to assume they're being bigoted to me. They're like, let's do a systematic analysis. And then after they got, and they were like, okay, we've done our research. This seems like bigotry. However, we're not professionals. Let's get professionals to analyze it. Like these people, like I don't know exactly the details, but these are like this is like credible the accusations of bigotry. Like, if again, I don't know the details, but it seems like compared to other people who are like, I don't know, this seems like it's bigotry. Like, this is so well done. Like, okay, so here's the thing: the applications that were sent, all things were equal except the names. Like, they were like, it seemed like they were very careful about how they analyzed this before they like this thing. You know, how do you know about any of the details?
So first they sent in an application, they were rejected, they tried again, and they would always get a response back from the nursery that, oh, there's no available spaces. And then they asked to be on the waiting list. And then they gave the disclaimer, oh, well, you can go on the waiting list, but no spots are guaranteed, right? And then 3 hours after the this daycare sent a decline to Hamza's wife, Nadia, her friend who sent an inquiry about her 2-year-old son with a white Scottish name got an acceptance saying, I wanted to check your availability for your son, blah, blah, blah. And then this white woman didn't do the extra things to register, but they were still asked for a schedule anyways. So they were like putting this family through hoops just to get on a waiting list versus this family. All of a sudden there was these availabilities in the schedule and they didn't even have to complete these extra things. And they were like trying to get them on board. So then they later went to...
Before you continue, I just want at this point, right? Before at this point, this is suspicious, okay? Very suspicious, but you can't come up with any conclusions because of the suspicion. And this is why I'm so proud of this couple, because they're like, we need to investigate further, right? They're not like, oh, this is proof of anything. They're like, this is very suspicious. Let's dig deeper, okay? So that's why I'm so proud of these people, because they did the work. But go on, continue.
So then after this, they're like, why are they telling this that there's nothing present, but they're telling this other person that they're like, oh yeah, what's your schedule like? And then so they asked Annie Brown, the associate editor and columnist of the Daily Record, to investigate and verify their findings. So then this journalist did the same thing. She created 2 profiles, one with a Muslim sounding name, quote unquote, and then one with a typical white Scottish name. And it was the one with the Muslim sounding name that got rejected and told that there was no available schedules.
It would have been much, I mean, this is great. It would have been better if there was like 30 applications sent, you know, not just like 2. But I mean,
well, the daycare might be suspicious. Like, why are we getting this flood of applications all of a sudden?
No,
with a bunch of Muslim kids.
I know, but like maybe over a longer period of time, right? Make it like I'm being picky here, but I'm just saying that it would have been interesting if they were like doing like a 6-month operation analysis, like not just like 2 application, because I know like at any point people could be like, yeah, this is very bad. It still could be a coincidence. But if you do like a 6-month operation, like for example, the studies when they're done in the United States, when it comes to show like that, to prove that Black people are being discriminated against, they were like sending resumes that were pretty much the same, but some of them had Black sounding names and some of them didn't.
They were exactly the same.
They were exactly the same. And you could see that, you know, the Black sounding, even, I mean, people say like it should be based on merit. Well, the resume is an indication of merit. So the merit is the same, but you can see that the Black sounding names, people with Black sounding names, their resumes were not being as accepted as much as people with white sounding names. Like, I mean, that is beyond reasonable doubt. You could like, sure, like this is a proof of discrimination, right? So I think like it would have been better if you had more applications, but still, it's still much better than what most people do. I mean, this is good because what these people are doing is like, they're making it difficult. It's not just about their kid. You know what I mean? Like they're going to make it more difficult for institutions like this to be discriminatory towards other people's kids, you know? So these are the people who are probably, again, I'm assuming a lot here, but probably are making things better for many other people to come later. So this is like, again, if the details are being reported accurately, this seems like a great work by a great couple. So
And I mean, it should be noted that like Hamza is no small fry. Like Hamza is the first non-white and first Muslim member of the Scottish cabinet. The first non-white member of the Scottish cabinet. You know, like this is someone with the current health secretary. And an update regarding from when we posted this on our site. An update is that they are now pursuing legal action against this daycare. They said that, wait, I want to find what their conditions were.
Okay, while you're saying that, Jay, you're not listening to Jay and Leite saying what exactly is the merit for a child. Jay, I was comparing this to another analysis in the US when it comes to resumes. I was comparing it to a different study where in the United States where people will send two different sets of resumes that were identical to employers and see which one of them would get a request for an interview. And the only thing, they were the same resumes with white sounding names and black sounding names, and the resumes were the same. And so the merit is the same. Only the name was different, and the black ones were rejected more. You pay attention, guys. Anyway.
So they said that action would be raised at the Dundee Sheriff Court if settlement proposals, a public apology, and compensation paid to an anti-racist charity were not made within 2 weeks. So this was reported by the BBC 4 days ago. We'll see if anything will be raised, because obviously, like, if I was this parent, at this point, I wouldn't want my kid to go to this daycare anyways. But so they're saying, like, we want a settlement, we want an apology, and obviously we don't want your services, but we want you to make a donation to a charity that would, like, raise awareness about these kinds of issues. And it's interesting to note, like, that the part of the defense from the Little Scholars Daycare is that our owners are themselves of Asian heritage, and for more than a decade, we have regularly welcomed both children and staff from a range of different religious, cultural, ethnic, and racial backgrounds. So they're basically saying, like, you're Southeast Asian because he's Pakistani, like, we're Asian. Like, what are you trying to say? And they're like,
Asian, what do they mean by Asian? Like, what Asian are they talking about?
Well, a representative of the,
because that's such a lame defense, because just because you're part of the, I mean, Asia is a big continent. That doesn't mean you can't be a bigot because you're from Asia. Like, what? Like, are they Pakistani? Because unless they're Pakistani, then this whole I'm from Asia, I'm also from Asia defense is such a lame defense. What are you talking about? What part of Asia?
Well, the woman's name is Usha Faldar, which someone in the live chat was saying is an Indian name. I don't know if that's true though.
Okay, that if you're from India, that does not. Okay, yeah, I'm from India. I'm not gonna be bigoted towards Pakistani people. Is that her defense because she's in the same? Okay, I don't know if this is true, but if her defense is that I'm from the same continent, so that means I'm not a bigot towards Pakistani. Like, imagine, guys, something would come in like, I'm from India. There's no way I would be bigoted against somebody from a Muslim background. Okay,
I found it.
Okay, wow.
The Faldar family is believed to have Indo-Mauritian origins.
Well, okay. This is all right.
The names of the other people in the family do sound extremely Indian. Dr. A.J. Faldar, Saraswati Faldar, and Usha Devi Faldar. So,
all right, guys, I'm not.
Oh, and apparently the other healthcare services that this family runs are, quote, absolutely filthy. So sounds like
What?
well, this family seems to have a chain of care homes, which have been criticized, and there's been whistleblower attempts, and their handling of the global disease has been poor. This seems like just the tip of the iceberg, really.
Okay, let's not get into that. However, I do want to clarify something because some people might think that I'm suggesting something that I'm not. Okay, I'm not suggesting that you are probably a bigot against Muslims if you're from India. Okay, I'm not saying that. Okay, I'm only saying that you being from India does not make you not a bigot. You being from India does not make you not a bigot towards Muslims. Okay, I'm not saying it will make it more likely. I'm just saying it doesn't make it less likely. Okay, and I think that's a ridiculous claim to make, given what we know.
We are skeptical of those claims.
We're just skeptical of those claims. Okay, I'm not responding with bigotry with my own bigotry. Okay, I'm not saying that. Okay, I'm just saying that doesn't seem like a reasonable defense. Okay.
Yeah, they tried to say that they have 2 like Muslim families that use their services currently, and that they even try to provide halal menu from the children that come from Muslim families. Yeah, but on a different note, I kind of wanted to highlight this story because it goes to show that why anti-Muslim bigotry is relevant and should be talked about, especially when we're talking about ex-Muslims, because a lot of people will be discriminated against whether or not you are actually practicing or a believer because their name sounds Muslim. It sounds, foreign and different. And so some people in the ex-Muslim community kind of just want to dismiss anti-Muslim bigotry when it is still very much relevant to the quality of life of ex-Muslims around the world, because they will be characterized or made assumptions about because they have a quote-unquote Muslim-sounding name. So just a different point, but I thought it was worth making.
I also want to point out that you having some Muslims that you serve does not, a lot of racist people. I'm not saying this is definite proof that these people are bigots or not. Okay, because the details might, we're all like being skeptical here, saying if the reports are accurate, if the allegations are accurate. But the defense doesn't make sense because there are a lot of racists who have token, people, that within their political we have racist political organizations that have a few token people from the race that they're racist against, and within their organization, administration, political party, institution, club, or whatever, just so that they have them as a defense to be like, well, we can't be racist because look at this, look at Tony, okay, or whatever. So that is a common thing. Also, it's also among a lot of people that are have some bigoted views. It's also common to be like, we could have a little bit, but not too much. Like this is the level, like, because of acceptance here. Because, for example, like a common view could be that maybe we ourselves even don't have any personal issues with having people with like Arab names in our daycare, but people would look down upon, like it would just like devalue. Like if it's just like, if half of the kids here are like from that background, then we're not going to have this prestigious, like we're not going to have people with money coming here. People are going to look and like, people are going to come look at our daycare and they're going to see like these kids with those kids. And we're like, I don't know. Like this is, they're thinking about, they could be thinking about, the visuals, right? And that's a level of bigotry that could also changing their mindset. But like maybe if there's like 2 of them among like a sea of white kids, that's like fine. But if like new parents show up and just see like, what is this? Like this is like, is this? And they're going to be like, I'm not going to put my kid here. So that also might be working the way that their minds are operating. Might be. Again, I'm not saying anything that is like, so I'm just saying that the defense doesn't make sense because these are all possibilities. Okay. Again, I'm not making any allegations. I'm just saying the things that are possible. Yeah.
I also see some people in the live chat like irritated, for lack of the better word, for them saying that we're conflating racism with anti-Muslim bigotry, which is
We're not.
different because in this case, we're actually, it's not clear whether this was just racism on the basis
Yeah.
of ethnicity or if it was because of religion. Like the exact nature of the discrimination is not entirely clear. So we can talk about both of them accurately.
Yeah, and I think I've been careful to say bigotry to just because I don't know the nature of it. Like, haven't I been saying, you guys in the live chat have been saying racism. I've been saying, did I say racism or did I say bigotry? Because bigotry is like a catch-all, term for either discrimination by religion or by race. So I think I've been careful enough to just say bigotry. Haven't I been saying, have I used racism?
I think I
don't
heard
know
you
if
say racism, but I still don't
Okay.
think it is incorrect in this case.
Yeah, because it's Arab sounding, like you don't know these people's religion. It's based on the name that they're picking. So, I mean, if you're assuming the type of bigotry is racism, you wouldn't be that. I mean, it's not a bad, unreasonable assumption to make because it's not like it's a 2-year-old. It doesn't have a religion. All right. So I think, right. So I think like racist. I mean, I'm not, maybe it's because of religion, but, as I think assuming it was racism, even if you're wrong, it's not like an irrational, like out of this world assumption, right? You know what I mean? Like it could be racism, it could be big, discrimination against a religion. I think,
or the intersection of the two.
yes, or the intersection. Or yeah, I mean, bigots are not very smart. I don't think they different. I don't think they could tell the difference between. I don't think they could tell the difference between why they're being a bigot. I just like, oh, these are just other people. Like, like it's not like the bigots can differentiate between why they're hating on other people that much. That they're not very smart.
Sikh Americans are the subject of anti-Muslim bigotry because a lot of American bigots are too stupid to realize that Sikhs are not Muslims.
Right. Also, by the way, did they know in the application that this person was like part of like the government, like the Secretary of Health? Like, was that? Did they see that in the application or no? Do we know if they need that?
I mean, I'm going to assume that when you apply for a daycare, you include the names or guardians of the parents. Or no, the names of the parents or guardians. Yeah. It's like this is a high-ranking member of the government. Like if I was a business, I'd be like, yeah, look at this endorsement.
We have like a minister's kid here. Thank you very much. But no, like apparently they're big. I mean, if this was because of bigotry, how strong does your bigotry have to be that you are refusing the kid of a minister just because they have Arab sounding name? Like that is like so health secretary. Like that's like some strong. Wow. Okay. Amazing. And like, all right.
Anyways, shouts out to Hamza Youssef and his family. I hope that they go after these people.
Yeah.
Or that there is, a lot more uncovering about exactly what was going on here, at the very least.
Yeah, and and also if all this news is correct, thank you for your reporting. Not report. Thank you for your activism for other parents' sake. Like this is great. Anyways, can we clap for the next news?
Let's clap because there are people who are fighting this situation.
Next news.
GOP senators halt nomination of Biden appointee over anti-Muslim bigotry. Anti-Muslim bigotry might be a strong accusation, but we're going to discuss, okay? In a letter dated June 30th, addressed to Senator Ben Cardin, who is the chair of the Small Business and Entrepreneurship Committee, 8 Republican U.S. senators expressed their concern over the nomination of Dilawar Syed. Syed is the current nominee to be the Deputy Administrator of the Small Business Administration, or SBA. If confirmed, he will become the highest-ranking Muslim official that will hold a role in the executive branch of the United States government. According to the Republican senators, if someone with Syed's background is confirmed, it would threaten the close allyship between American and Israeli businesses. As a response, various religious organizations expressed their support for Syed by sending a letter to Senator Ben Cardin. In the letter, dated August 9th, addressed to both Senators Ben Cardin and Rand Paul, the religious groups accused some Republican senators of using a troubling strategy that denoted anti-Muslim animus.
Okay, wait, break this down. Biden picked somebody for the chair of the Small Business and Entrepreneurship Committee, right? No.
The
Ben,
deputy
no.
administrator.
Okay. Okay, no. Ben, the senator. All right, break this down one more time.
So Biden wants to appoint Dilawar Syed, who is the
Right.
current nominee, to the deputy administrator of the SBA. Senator
Okay.
Ben Cardin is the current chair of the Small Business and Entrepreneurship Committee.
Okay.
And
he
there
said, like,
are
no, don't do this because, like, our Israeli businesses would be upset because this guy's a Muslim.
that's
Is he specific?
that's the undertone. That is the undertone of this.
I mean, I can't.
So
I mean, the undertone is reasonable. Like, it's reasonable to assume, but because what else could they be upset about? Like, okay, so the senator is saying, don't put this guy in charge of this whole, small business entrepreneurship committee thing because we have Israeli-owned businesses and they're not going to be wanting to work with us. But he didn't specifically say mention the guy's religion. If he didn't, did he mention why he thinks they would not want to be working with this? Like, go on, Sus.
So there are 8 out of the 10 Republican senators that make up this committee wrote this letter to the chair of the committee, Senator Ben Cardin. And wait, I need to find it exactly. They specifically bring up the fact that Syed is a director on an advocacy group, a Muslim American advocacy group called Engage Action. And on their website, Engage Action stated its mission to promote just policy guided by our faith and reflected of our Muslim American identity. Engage Action has also been supporting the call for President Biden to pressure Israel into agreeing with the ceasefire with Palestine and has been critical of Israel's occupation of Palestinian lands. So he's the director of this advocacy group that has, taken a stance in support of Palestine and criticized Israel and America's, relationships, yada, yada.
Okay.
The statements from Engage Action, according to the Republican senators, are inflammatory and point to a deep-seated prejudice that can translate to severe issues to the small business community if Syed is appointed. So in response, there are many religious groups who have reached out to Senator Cardin specifically, listing their support for Syed and calling out these Republican senators for trying to halt, block, or basically boycott his nomination or confirmation into this position. In a move, the actions that these Republican senators is basically unprecedented in this specific committee. And so that's why they're talking about this troubling strategy. Like, they're taking all these unprecedented moves to try to stop this from happening. And so when they wrote this letter to Senator Cardin and Rand Paul, they, accused these Republican senators of using a troubling strategy. And what they're referring to is it mentioned this letter that refers to discussions or emails from some of the Senate Small Business and Entrepreneurship Committee members where, sorry,
it's okay. It's okay.
Where there were all these messages from these committee members where they were talking about Syed's Pakistani heritage and where they were talking about his association with Muslim American advocacy groups. Like, they were heavily discussed. And so this letter in support of Syed states, the religious group's concern over the apparent anti-Muslim animus causing unnecessary delay over Syed's appointment confirmation.
All right. So the people who are against, what's his name? Saeed?
That's his last name.
Say it.
Dilawar Syed.
Delaware Saeed. The people who are against the position, they're not claiming that it's because he's a Muslim. Okay. Again, I'm not believing them. Okay. I'm not saying I believe them or not, but they're saying it's because of his anti-Israel policy advocacy that they think that this is the troublesome. It's the
Not
problem.
even his explicitly. He is the director. He is a director on an advocacy group that has positions against Israel. One more.
But he himself has never expressed anything. Okay, so this is ridiculous for many reasons. Okay, because first of all, there are many Israelis who are against Israel's occupation of like the West Bank and who are critical of Israel's policies. I don't understand why it's just assumed that everybody just has to have a pro-Israeli like you can't what? Like your political opinion makes it impossible for people that disagree with you, who might have small businesses because they're Israeli. This is going to make it difficult for other people to work with you. Sounds like that's their problem. I mean, do we do that with anything else? Like if you're critical of Saudi Arabia, or if you're critical of, I don't know, Romania's policies, for example, or if you're critical of like, I don't know, UK, if you're critical of Brexit, okay, like I don't like that UK went through Brexit. If you have that opinion, does that mean that you can't get this position because some people who might like Brexit in the United States are now going to have a problem working with you? What the hell is this with like having opinions about Israel all of a sudden becoming like blasphemy if you're like agree or disagree with certain positions? Like what the hell is up with this? You know, people have made agreeing with Israel's policy like a form of seem like the sacred thing that it's criminal if you just merely have disagreements with in the United States. This is like a religion now in the United States. Susie, I was just mentioning that like there are Israelis that have been critical of Israel's policies. Like I don't understand. Like is the accusation that because you have views? First of all, he doesn't even seem to have expressed any views against Israel's position. He's just part of an organization that has been critical of some of Israel's positions that even Israelis are. I'm critical. I mean, I'm against occupations of West Bank. Like so this person hasn't even been as outspoken as I have against the policies of Israel. And because he has been part of an organization that is critical of some of Israel's policies, is the accusation that like small businesses that might disagree with him would not be able to work with him? Is that the accusation here?
They are basically saying that that would cause contention in Israeli-American relationships. And I think there was a vague accusation of like not having an ability to work with Jewish American businesses, small businesses.
Okay, well, every person that has this opinion now, Muslims Americans are now going to have a problem with working with you. So you just played yourself. So now you shouldn't get any job because this person opinion about Israel, you're saying that Jewish American can't work with him. Well, now your opinion on him is going to make it difficult for Muslim Americans to work with you. So you shouldn't have your job either. I mean, if that's the standard, why not go all the way? Like everybody that has an opinion on any Islamic or Jewish country or India, just like now it's going to like just the expression of the opinion is now going to make it difficult for Hindus and Muslims and Jews to work with you. So just lose your job. Just like nobody can work with you now because you have an opinion on something. Like, is this the standard that we're like playing with here? I don't understand. Am I missing something here? This seems very ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay, it is ridiculous. I think like the assumption that this is just anti-Muslim bigotry just being covered up with these like lame excuses, that's a fair assumption to make. All right, let's just go to the next news, and then we'll cover this really fast. Okay, hold on. All right, can we? Let me see.
We can clap for this news.
Okay. All right. Next news.
Next news, new groundbreaking UN resolution condemning witchcraft violence and abuse. So this is very exciting and highlights a problem that not a lot of people know about. During the 47th session of the UN Human Rights Council, the UN released a resolution that calls for the, quote, elimination of harmful practices related to accusations of witchcraft and ritual attacks. The session, which lasted from June 21st to July 13th, 2021, listed on its agenda issues regarding the protection and promotion of all human rights, including social and cultural rights. In the resolution, the UN asks states to take actions against witchcraft-related violent attacks. The UN also calls for justice for the victims, encouraging prosecution of the perpetrators of these types of violent crimes. The Witchcraft and Human Rights Information Network, or WHIFRIN, in a press release, celebrated the, quote, one-of-a-kind resolution. So this is really awesome because not a lot of people know about the issue of persecution of alleged witches. This is a huge problem in countries such as I believe it's Guyana. I always get Papua New Guinea and Guyana confused for no good reason. And also parts of Western Africa, where different groups who are often very socially vulnerable, such as people with albinism or old women, old men, people with disabilities, maybe things like, oh my God, what's going on right now? Sorry.
That's okay.
So people who are very socially vulnerable are accused of witchcraft, and they are subject to torture, horrific abuse, being ostracized from the community to the point where in some places they are like basically outcast villages of people who have to flee because they are tortured for being accused of witches. And oftentimes the persecution of these peoples includes like fake trials, like witch trials, like where they have to do all these fake things to try to like, which way does a broom fall, or which way do these bones scatter, you know, like to prove if or if not this person is a witch. And people go through some really horrific treatment. And it's really awesome that this is being brought to the attention of the UN and that they are writing resolutions about it, because it's something that not a lot of people are knowledgeable on.
Yeah, I'm so sad that this is needed, that it's big enough that this is needed. But I'm so glad that this is, you know, the Human Rights Council, like, don't let people tell you that they don't do anything. These will have an influence. These will make a difference. So I'm really glad that they're doing this. I mean, we needed this. We need to step in the right direction. Yeah, so I hope it actually materializes into something that changes people's lives and protects some people. But other than that, I mean, people are agreeing also in the live chat that it's so sad that this is needed. But also, I'm happy that
yeah, like so many people don't know that this is a problem in the 21st century, right? And it's really important that there's more awareness about it. D is shouting out Leo Igwe. So Leo Igwe, who we talked about previously and who we've had on the channel. So if you guys want to learn about his work regarding this, please search just Leo Igwe on our channel. He has an amazing project in Nigeria where he has, I think it's called the Advocacy for Alleged Witches Project, where he actually goes to people who have been tortured because they've been accused of being witches, fights for their rights, fights for them to be brought back into the community, raise awareness, teach people critical thinking to help prevent this from happening in the first place. Yeah.
Wait, some people, Ghost Bunny and Mortal Skeptic are pointing in the highlight that what you just described was people using witchcraft to find witches. Like, would that not incriminate themselves based on their own standards? Okay.
See, it sounds like the live chat is thinking critically.
Yeah, I mean, this doesn't. I mean, we're assuming that this has to make any sense, but it's religion. So, anyways. All right. Last news.
Wait, I'm sorry. I don't know what's happening. I just lost my. What did you say?
Last news. Should we go to the
yes.
One? Okay. Clap. Yes.
Yeah. Definitely.
Next. Last
news. Atheist Republic Persian channel hits 10,000 subscribers. So this is a recent achievement. Well, I'll let Armin speak on this more since he, put so much work into the Persian channel. But this is a major milestone, especially for a Farsi-speaking channel. So take it away, Armin.
Yes, our Atheist Republic channel in Farsi is growing. In Persian is growing. And guys, if you know anybody who speaks Persian, please let them know that this channel exists. And even more excitingly, the last show that we had was with Susanna. Look at this. Susanna was our guest here. And we had her on and we translated her answers. This was the first show. Like, we usually have guests who speak Persian, but this was the first show that we had when we had somebody speaking English, and we translated her answers live to our audience there. So this is going to be a good way for us to bring, English speaking guests to the show and just translate what they're saying to our audience. So look, Susie was like our guest. So you guys go check out that channel if you speak Persian, and recommend it to other people. We have look, this was the show. We had the neuroscientist on, and we talked about like the nature of mind. We talk about Islam. We talk about we debunked the arguments for the existence of God. We have some journalists on. We talk about history. We have we bring scientists. We bring sociologists from academics here. This guest was an academic. So yeah, we have some really interesting guests, some experts, some journalists. We cover the news. We talk about religion, philosophy, and we have a lot of fun there. So yeah, and the channel is growing, and we love it, and we're proud of it, and we want you guys to, if you know anybody, please help us grow that channel, and if not, help us grow this channel that you're watching right now by sharing our Atheist Republic YouTube channel. Yeah, and thank you, Susanna, for coming on yesterday as a guest. You were amazing, and people loved it.
I had a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're gonna head out. Thank you for being here with us, and thank you for supporting us. And make sure, guys, please help us grow the channel. And guys, if you like the videos that you're watching, it helps us push the video to more people and helps the channel grow. So even if you can't share, sharing will help a lot, but just liking it would also help a lot. Okay. Anyways, guys, we're going to head out, and thank you for being with us, and thank you for spending time with us, and we'll see you again soon.
Wait, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter as well.
Yes,
so that we never lose touch with you, no matter where they try to deplatform us.
Yes, guys, we don't know if we're going to survive on YouTube or on Facebook and Twitter, so it's very important for you guys to subscribe to our newsletter, and if you do subscribe to our newsletter, you get our Blasphemous Art ebook for free, and you get my book for free. So make sure you subscribe. Anyways, guys, gotta go. Love you guys. Well, I don't love you guys, but I like you a lot. But till next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.